Welcome to GrandOldTeam, ladies and gents. I do hope you're all well. Everton signed off for the international break, top of the Premier League, with a 4-2 win against Brighton at Goodison Park. My guest for this episode is a man who knows a thing or two about being top of the league with Everton, league-winning striker Andy Gray. Now, Andy, nice speaking to you again. Thanks for joining me.
A pleasure, Max. Pleasure.
Good weekend?
Busy and extraordinary with some of the results that were flying past. It was quite extraordinary when you see what West Ham did to Leicester away and what Spurs did to Man U, Old Trafford, and what one of my old teams, Aston Villa, did superbly well against Liverpool. So I was very, very pleased about that one. But yeah, it's been a strange start to the season in that respect. That there are only two teams with 100% records, and both of them I played for.
Was, I know. Great stuff. And I mean, the last time we'd spoken, Everton had lost 1-0 away to Spurs following a very lethargic performance. And this season, it's been a completely different story. Like you said, we've gone back there, beaten them 1-0, played 7, won 7, scored 24. What are your thoughts on Everton so far this season? And of course, your assessment of the 4-2 win just gone against Brighton?
Well, I think what we've seen is that anyone who wondered, and I think I was there. Well, no, I wasn't there. I mean, I remember talking to Richard Keys here, who I work with in Qatar here, and he felt that maybe Carlo didn't have the fire in his belly for what needed to be done at Everton. And I had always said, if he has done, then we've got a fantastic coach, one of the best in world football. And with the contacts he has and the people he knows and the teams he's been at, he will know players that we don't, like Alan. Where did that come from? Any other coach wouldn't have brought him in, but he knew him from a previous time that he worked with him. And he came. He worked with James Rodriguez at Bayern Munich. He knew what he was like, and he came. So what we've found is we've got a coach who has got the fire in his belly, I believe. He has got his mojo. He's been given terrific backing from the owners, which I'm hugely pleased about. They haven't denied him money to go and buy who he wanted, and that's been terrific for him. And what he's done is it's mainly a mentality difference. Mm-hmm. Yes, we've got a different midfield. It's a trio of midfield players. When you look at it with Abdoulaye Doucouré, Alan, and Andre Gomez, it's a terrific assortment of players. They're all different in how they go about their jobs, and that's what makes them so good. A front three that are capable of going at time. But he's got us playing forward football, what I would call football that we don't spend half the game passing it around our back four and back to the goalie and out to the fullback and back to the goalie and out to the centre back and back to the goalie. We don't do that. We do it occasionally if we need to. That's called managing the game. But he wants us to get forward quicker. He wants us to play forward quicker. If we have to go long, we go long. Nothing wrong with that if it's a good pass. And I think that he's got the mindset of the players focused on positivity rather than negativity. And I think all of those things have come together at the beginning of the season. Listen, it's early. We're 4 games in. We've got 12 points. But the signs are extremely good. Better than we've seen for quite some time. So, yes, like most Evertonians, I'm delighted. I'm not getting carried away, because I think what we saw this weekend is there are some strange results in football these days right now during the middle of the pandemic. So we have to be careful. But 4 games in, 4 wins out of 4. I'm not too worried about the cup ties. Forget them. We're playing nobody really. But the thing about it is the Premier League for me. And how have we done there? We've done terrific. Really, really terrific.
Yeah, definitely. And on that game against Brighton, obviously Dominic Calvert Lewin opened the scoring with a soaring header. Any Everton number 9 would be proud of. I think it's fair to say he's the first Everton centre forward to live up to the reputation of the shirt since Duncan, really. One of the things I was really looking forward to asking you is that there's been many significant improvements in his game, in all aspects really. And when you analyse his performance and his game overall, where have you seen the biggest improvements?
Richard Keed asked me this question 15 months ago about Dominic, when he did such a successful under-21 career, but couldn't really bring it into the Everton first team. First of all, the team's better. You have to admit that. Secondly, the coach has got us playing in a way that suits him. But I had said 15 months ago, Kesey said, what would you tell him if you could have a word with him? And I've always thought that you can't fault Dominic's work ethic, but I think he often, for me, worked in the wrong places too much, to the detriment of his own performance and where he needed to be. And I said, if I was his coach now, I'd be saying to him, I want you to work more between the width of the 18-yard box. I'm not saying you can't give us an option down wide if you need to run wide and close people down. That's fine, part of the game, but don't do it every time. But keep yourself available at the top end of the pitch, in between the penalty area, and most importantly, get in and around the 6-yard box. It's almost gone back to when I was talking to Sharpie all those years ago. And when I arrived at the club, and Sharpie was a scorer of great goals, but he wasn't then a great goal scorer. He became a great goal scorer because he got 15 tap-ins a season. And if you look at Dominic's goals this season, a lot of them have been no further than 6 yards out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a centre-forward gets a bucket full of goals. The soaring header he got against Tottenham, fine. But the scruffy ones he got in recent games from 6 yards out, those are the ones that define how good you're going to be and how many goals you're going to score. So I think what they've got him doing is working more in the penalty area, being an option, being the focal point, not expending energy, chasing aimless causes, although it's admirable, but don't do it. And I think that that's the main thing. And the service to him, obviously, is much better than it was last year. So I think all of these things, I think the services has improved, the quality of footballer around him has improved, and he's improved because I don't think he's wasting energy in areas of the pitch you don't want your centre forward to be wasting energy. And he's also finishing better than he was. He seems, he might have snatched a few 18 months ago of the ones he's had. He isn't at the moment because he's so confident. He's not snatching the way he did. So all in all, I think his overall game's improved hugely. But I think the team as well has helped him enormously with the chances they're creating for him.
Yeah, definitely. You've hit the nail on the head there. I would say it's definitely like a symptom of a young player, to young striker in particular, to be running the channels, to be covering a lot of ground and not be hitting the fundamentals, which we're seeing now with Dominic and with Carlo coming out recently and describing him as a complete striker. I think that's a huge testament to him when you think of the level of the striker that Carlo's worked on in the past. Now, one of the things you did, you rightly brought up there, was the quality in his teammates. Now, Dominic has spoken openly about having the benefits of having the likes of James Rodriguez in the side. Now, James assisted that goal that put us 2-1 up. Yerry Mina's header, great free kick delivery. And he also scored his first brace in an Everton shirt. He's played more key passes than anyone in the Premier League, if that's correct. And his influence has just been, priceless, really. Now, when you think about it, especially for someone like yourself, I bet you would have loved to have played alongside him.
Well, I did. I had the luxury of having Trevor Steven one side and Kevin Sheedy the other. Trust me, there weren't many better at creating chances than those two. They were as skillful as James Rodriguez, both of them. So I know the value of good service. Graham and I benefited many, many times from having footballers around us that could provide the type of service that you need. And absolutely, he will benefit from having James Rodriguez in the side for that. Others, I mean, not so much Richarlison. He's not so much a creator as a goal scorer himself. So they'll definitely get it from there. And what we have to be careful ongoing is teams are going to know. They don't sort of learn slowly. They learn quickly in the Premier League, and they will already know that a big part of Everton is James. And if we stop him, then that's big part of us getting the result against Everton. It's a bit like when Jorginho went to Chelsea and was absolutely terrific, dominated games. His contribution on the ball was amazing. He was on it more than any other player. All of a sudden, people started to mark him man for man, and his influence in the game dropped and diminished. And he's never quite been the same because he hasn't been able to step it up himself, I don't think. But he's going to find that along the way, people will try and mark him out the game, foul him a little bit more, dilute his contribution to the team. But I think he's good enough to cope with that. The best players are. And that's why people like Ronaldo and Messi have never been able to be dominated because they're too good. And everyone tries to shut down the best players. And they will with Rodriguez. There's no doubt about that. Ongoing. They will definitely try to shut down the service that he provides. So he's got to prove that he has what we all know he has got, the talent, and that he wants to do it still. From what I've seen already, delighted with him. Mm-hmm. Delighted. But it's going to get more difficult, not easier for him. And that's what he will learn about the Premier League that maybe he didn't find in the Bundesliga or the Spanish League.
Yeah, true. And you bring up a good point about Jorginho there. And I'm thinking that, I'm racking me mind in recent Everton history. And I recall Jelavic. I remember when we signed Jelavic, I think it was in the January of 2013. Obviously, he scored a half full of goals in the remainder of the season, but the following season, opposition just doubled up on him, stuck two defenders on him, and just rendered him ineffective, really. So that is a good point. But as Carlo says, I mean, football is the same in England as it is in Spain, as it is in Germany. It's 22 players on a pitch.
It's not. Trust me, I wouldn't disagree with Carlo a lot because I've got huge admiration for him and he's our coach. But he knows the Premier League's a tougher league than if you're playing for Bayern Munich in the German league, in the Bundesliga. No, it's not like playing for Everton in the Premier League. And if you're playing for Real Madrid in the Spanish league, it's not like playing for Everton. We are not there yet. We're not Liverpool and Man City yet. So it's not quite that easy. And that's the only thing I would say. We've got to work really hard to keep and sustain what we've done. But listen, hard work was never a problem for footballers, and I don't think it'll be a problem for Carlo's team either. I really don't.
No, I'm just hoping that his quality pulls through. Obviously, his impact, as I say, it's been really valuable in the short time that he has been here. And for me, I've said it countlessly, really. I think he's the first creative midfielder that we've sort of needed since Mikel Arteta left the club, and I'm hoping he can have that sort of continued impact in the coming seasons. Now, this is the first time since September '89, I think, if I heard correctly, this is the first time we'll go into a Merseyside derby top of the league. Now, it's well documented that we don't play anywhere near as well enough as we should in these games, and we certainly don't get the results. That being said, with the chances that Villa created the other night, exploiting Liverpool's high line, do you think this is a great time to play them, or do you think Klopp will ensure that they don't repeat the same mistakes?
Oh, I'd rather they hadn't got, although I'm delighted that Villa beat them 7-2, as most Evertonians are. I really am. It was just a joy to watch for me. It was a bad result as far as Everton are concerned, because you know that Klopp will spend the next 2 weeks analysing what his team did right and did wrong. And they did a few things right. At sort of 3-1, it could easily have been 3-3, a Liverpool 4-3 ahead. It was one of those kind of games. But there's absolutely no doubt that from what I've seen, Liverpool haven't quite got to the levels they were at last year. You only have to look at what Leeds did to them in the opening day and have a look around and think, wow, they took them right to the wire at Anfield. You have to look at what Villa did to them and think, wow, 7 goals. And Villa could have scored 10. Make no mistake about it. Villa had gone 10-2. No one could have argued with that. So there were far too many chances for Klopp's liking. And he's not a stupid man, and he's a top coach. So he will be spending the next 2 weeks making sure his team are ready. There's no doubt people like Trent Alexander-Arnold, even Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez, the back four are not functioning in the way they did. And we have a great opportunity, a really good opportunity at home to lay a marker down for the season. There's absolutely no reason we shouldn't go into the game confident that we can win it. Really not. Respectful of who we're playing. They are the champions of the country. We can't deny that. So respectful of who we're playing, but not fearful of who we're playing. That's very important. And the ambition to believe you can win the football match. We probably haven't had a better opportunity to lay a marker down and say, you know what, we're on our way back. I'm not going to say we're back because we're not. We're on our way back, and here's another little measure of why I think we're on the way back. But football is it's a weird thing at the moment. It's very unpredictable. Results are unpredictable. Performances are unpredictable. The pandemic has had a huge effect on teams, whether it's preparation or training. I mean, the fact that Sadio Mane missed it and Thiago Alcantara missed it, that was a big blow for Liverpool at Villa Park. Let's make no mistake about that. Those two players might have changed the whole fabric of that game. So, I was delighted they were both out because they're huge players. Will they be back for our game? Probably. So they'll probably be at full strength when we take them on, unless anyone gets injured on international duty in the next fortnight. And it'll be it's a tough ask. But listen, we've spent the season. We had to go to London, opening day, a city we've hardly won in for the last 20 years, and got a fabulous result. We've carried on, had 4 consecutive victories, and it's been wonderful. Scoring goals, creating chances. There's a joy in our play. The players seem to be loving each other's company, which I like a lot. Mm-hmm. They seem to have a terrific team ethic at the moment, which I like a lot. And we take that into the next game, and as I say, play with confidence, respect but not fear. And there's absolutely no reason why we can't beat Liverpool at Goodison in 2 weeks' time.
Mm-hmm. That's a message that I feel like should be echoed before every Merseyside derby, to be fair. Now, just on that, right, because I feel like that's a point that's brought up quite often, especially amongst Evertonians. I mean, I guess you could sort of comment on this on behalf of all teams, really, but Everton in particular, do you think they're benefiting from not having fans on their back? As we know, Evertonians are a very, harsh, judgmental bunch, but do you think that's coming to their benefit?
No, because Evertonians are brilliant when the team needs you. When the team need them, they're sensational. So I don't know is the honest answer. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that certain footballers during this pandemic have played better without the fans than they would with the fans. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. Because everyone's different. There are players who respond and rise to the crowd, whether it's to the adversity of the crowd, your opponent's crowd, or whether it's your own crowd baying you on, respond to that. There's others cower and fold and not quite play, maybe not take the chance. I do believe that there are a lot of footballers in the country playing better because there are no fans. I would agree with you 100%. And there'll be 1 or 2 players in the country not maybe at full tilt because they're that feeling they get when they score a goal or make a great play and the fans go wild. It's not there. So it might be suffering a little. So every sport, golf is the same. I watch golf a lot. And there are certain players who play great now, who you think, well, where's he come from? He couldn't handle the pressure of going down the last few holes with 20,000 people baying him on or cheering. They can't handle that, but they can when the golf course is empty. Tennis the same, So, yes, the answer would be there are certain players, I hope we don't have any, that are playing better now because the fans aren't there. Yeah, 100%. And that's why you go to Anfield now. And I'll use Anfield because it's the one that people use, or Old Trafford. And do you think that Man United would have lost 6-1 to Tottenham at the weekend at Old Trafford if there had been 76,000 in there? I don't. I don't. Because the fans wouldn't have allowed them to lose that many. They really wouldn't. So Yes, I think the empty stadiums have affected both positively and some, and negatively and a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Not sure about your point about Anfield, though. Whenever I've went, there's hardly any atmosphere there.
Well, you know what I'm saying. They always say Anfield, but forget it. The mistake on my part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the first time in a long time Evertonians are really up for the test. I feel, as you say, it's a great sort of barometer to judge, how we're going to fare for the rest of the season. This being our first really big game. And as you say, fingers crossed they can live up to the challenge. Now, just before I let you go, to touch on the deadline day business of Everton, they announced the signing of 22-year-old centre-back Ben Godfrey from Norwich for around £20 million, and the loan of Roma's Robin Olsen, a goalkeeper, of course, which many would argue is needed given the form of Jordan Pickford. But just on the signing of Godfrey, £20 million, having grown up during the David Moyes era, when we had to be savvy with the limited funds that we had available, it still bewilders me that we can afford that type of money for a squad player. But just how important is it for a team aspiring to be successful to have strength and depth, and how long do we have to wait before making a judgment call on whether or not Seamus Coleman's going to be lifting up the Premier League title come May?
Well, that would be wonderful. That would be absolutely glorious. It's been far, far too long. It's one of those seasons where trying to make a judgment and saying that Everton are back is difficult after 4 games. What I would say is we've started the season better than most seasons in the last, since we won the title back in 87.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Since we won the title back in 87, we've probably started the season better than any other season. That's a positive. When can we be confident that we're going to lift it? When we get round to March and April and no one can catch us, that's probably the first time that any Evertonian will believe that they can. But no, we've had so many, not false dawns, because we haven't had many of them, but where there's been so many times where we've had a new coach or some players have come in and we've thought, yeah, this is us, we're looking good, we're back, we're going to be good. And we never really threatened in that respect, never threatened. This time, if we get near, the one thing we do know, we have a coach who knows how to win a league. We have a coach who knows how to win big games, big titles. A top tactical, analytical, bright football brain at the helm, and that's a big plus. As far as signings, Godfrey, decent signing, decent player. The fact that you can spend 20 million on somebody who will have to play very well to shift Mina and Keane at the moment, who have started the season terrifically well, says a lot for us. And that he wants to come says a lot for us. Mm-hmm. I think the business they did, Moise Keane's gone. Yeah, he's struggled. So send him out, give him a year somewhere else, see if he can find his form and bring him back again, a little bit older, more mature. And we might have ourselves a top centre forward. We don't know. Theo Walcott, I think he had to go. I think he had to go for himself. I don't think he was contributing enough to Everton. Certainly not this season. I think he's one of these that's got a little bit stale over the last couple of years. So it should be good for Theo and the club that, he's gone back to Southampton where he had such a lot of success. So I think the business we've done overall in the summer has been good. I don't think we're short in any position. I think we can suffer injury and suspension and still be confident that we can bring in, a top player. I mean, don't forget we played Brighton there without Alan or Andre Gomez. That 3-man midfield who had won the first 3 games was being touted up as the perfect midfield, and we don't want to lose any of them. Well, we lost 2 of them against Brighton and we still won the game pretty comfortably. So that's what I mean. I think we have a group of players now where we can absorb injury and illness and suspension and still be confident about walking onto a football pitch and getting a result. So I'm delighted. I'm sitting here now with 2 weeks to go to the derby saying bring it on, which I haven't done for a good few years now. Yeah. I want us to get them. I wish it was tomorrow. I wish it was Wednesday. And I wish we could get right at them again and test them after the humbling they took at Villa Park. But, even if we got beat, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't be the end of our season. Does anyone think we can go through the whole season not losing a football match? No, we can't. We really can't. History tells you that. And when we get beat, and I say when, because we will, when we get beat, these are the time to judge us, because the best teams, like we had back in the 80s, the best teams, if they lose a game, don't lose another. They come back and win 2 or 3 in a row. And that'll be when I will start to judge us as genuine title contenders. At the moment, we're in that wave. That wave when you're on the crest of it? We're sitting there now. Rightly so. Sitting there. Beautifully. Just riding it. But the wave eventually drops a bit. And then we've got to get on another one. So I'll wait for that. As soon as we have something happens to us, and somebody will beat us we don't expect. Somebody like a mid-table team or a bottom 10 team will go to Goodison and beat us. And we'll think, well, we've gone now, or whatever. No. How do we respond? That'll be the big thing. So I'll wait for that. But at the moment, I'll say to you all Evertonians, enjoy it. It's been so good to watch. It's been lovely to see. And I spoke to Peter Reid yesterday. We're both absolutely made up with the way we've started. It's like, you've got Alan there who could be Peter Reid from the 85. It's a 21st century Peter Reid, isn't he? He's just like so typical of what Reedy used to do. It was so vitally important for us. So, and we're all hopeful. We're just not keeping our fingers crossed, because we've got a really good team. Don't be embarrassed about our team. We've got a really good team, a fantastic group of players, a wonderful coach. So, and I love Carlo the way he says, I'm not aiming for top 10. He's aiming for the stars. And right, aim for the stars, you might hit the moon. If you only aim for the moon, you might not get anywhere. So, let's aim for the highest. Let's aim for the title. We don't get it. So what? We might finish second, third, or fourth. Brilliant. It'd be a great season.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be the best season since I've been alive. And on that point about Alan, I remember coming across one of his YouTube videos when he was at Napoli, and someone described him as a Brazilian Peter Reid. So,
yes.
You're not too far wrong there.
Runs like Reedy. He even runs like Reedy. Goes about the pitch like Reedy. No nonsense. Great player. Gets it, gives it, wins it, stops people playing. Fantastic. So vital. He's such an important player. And that's what I mean about Ancelotti. He knew him. He worked with him in Napoli, I think it was, wasn't it? And he knew him, and he went and got him. Fantastic. He knew Rodriguez. He went and got him. These people come to Everton. Do you think those 2 players would have come to Everton for a previous manager? They wouldn't. No. They really wouldn't. And now, because of the start, and if we can continue it, when January comes round and we need something, we need to supplement them with another big signing, we could get one more big one and it would say, wow, make a statement. Well, we know 2 things. We know that they'll come because of Carlo, and we're playing well. And 2, that I think the owners are now going to back the coach and say, if you want 40, 50 million sometime soon to really get us, to take us to the next level, we're going to give you it. And I think that's terrific.
Yes, sir. Most definitely. Andy, thanks very much for joining me. I'm sure everyone listening really enjoyed that, and long may this continue.
Oh, yes, please.
Most definitely. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Talk soon.